From Daily Trust News Center, this is News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, experts say cases of abduction reduced by 28% in August as troops scale up operations across the country. Gas explosion kills 4 refugees in Kogi. NDLEA discovers 13.4 million pills of tramadol in Lagos mansion. And on the foreign scene, King Charles III to host South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa in first state visit. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Eugenia Abu. Cases of abductions went down by 28% across the country in the month of August when compared to the month of July as a result of ongoing operations of security forces across the country. A report analyzed by Daily Trust showed a 49% increase in fatalities and an 18% increase in the number of incidents compared with the previous month of July. The report showed that 859 people were killed in the same period, with Borno State recording the highest number of 349 and Kaduna State coming second with 79 fatalities. In an earlier interview, Managing Director Beacon Consulting, Kabiru Adamu, validates the report, although some abduction cases are unreported.
We use industry standards to verify our information. So first off, we collate the information using industry standard, and then intelligence cycle involves about 5 stages. So we take through all of those 5 stages, and then it is verified and then presented. Anywhere we're not able to verify data, we don't present it. Now, that does not mean, for instance, that we will capture every incident that happened. No, it's impossible. We're a private organization. We try our best to ensure that we have a granular representation, but certainly we're aware that there will be certain incidents that would not be captured, either because they have not been or because the victims never reported it. Now, with regards we saw an increase from mid-July into early August. The major reason is really as a result of the Kuje incident. That Kuje incident, if we recall, there was a raid on the custodial center in Kuje, and several high-ranking government officials, including the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the president himself, visited that facility and that month, the month of July, there were 3 National Security Council meetings. I can't remember in this Fourth Republic. In fact, in any of the previous, we had 3 National Security 1 month. In one of those meetings, the president directed this to go after the bad guys, both terrorists and bandits, and told them not anything back. That seemed to have done the magic. The second development is the weapon acquisition by the military. It appears around that period, all platforms were obtained by the Nigerian military. And we saw an increase in security operations around that period. Several new military operations were introduced, including what was called Operation Forest Sanity in Kaduna and Niger State. And all of this in what in military parlance is called technique, tactics, and procedure.
In the meantime, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says it has recovered no less than 13.4 million pills of 225 milligram tramadol worth nearly 9 billion naira from one of the mansions of a billionaire drug baron, Ugochukwu Kadibia, in the highbrow residential estate, Victoria Garden City, Lekki area of Lagos. The arrest of Ugochukwu, who is the chairman of Auto Nation Motors Limited, is coming barely 2 months after NDLEA uncovered a methamphetamine clandestine laboratory in the residence of another drug kingpin in the estate, Chris Emeka Nzewi, who was arrested on Saturday, 30th of July, along with a chemist, Sunday Uka, who cooked the illicit drug for him. At least 258.74 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine and various precursor chemicals used for the production of the toxic drug were recovered from Nzewi's home during his arrest. Before his arrest, Ugochukwu, who hails from Ihiala local government area of Anambra State, has been on the agency's watch list as one of those behind the tramadol drug cartel in Nigeria. Preliminary investigation shows that he has about 6 mansions within the VGC, one of which he uses to warehouse the tramadol consignment, while he lives in the one at plot Z130 Road 67 and uses another as his office. The Independent National Electoral Commission has said the nation's registered political parties must disclose the sources of their campaign funds and keep to the rules guiding campaign financing and spending limits. The INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, said this in an exclusive interview with Trust TV. According to him, there are also limits for what individuals can contribute to campaign financing, as individuals can only make contributions subject to certain limits. The INEC boss reiterated that parties cannot receive financial contributions from outside the country, adding that any money received by any party from outside the country must be transferred to the Commission.
The limits are in the law, actually. Remember, it wasn't 5 billion under the old law. It's the new Electoral Act that set the limit for 5 billion for presidential. And then it sets other limits for other elections, from governorship down to councillorship in the FCT. The FCT is the only part of the country where INEC conducts local government elections. So these are in the law, and they must be obeyed and respected. There are also limits for what individuals can contribute to campaign finance. Individuals can make contributions subject to a certain limit. And the party also has its own limitations as to what it can spend, including where the money is coming from and the responsibility for full disclosure for transparency. The law says that parties cannot receive financial contributions from outside the country. And if there is any money received by any party from outside the country, such funds must be transferred to the Commission. But there is another dimension to the foreign issue you have raised. At present, Nigerians only vote in Nigeria because the law says that you only vote where you are registered. And we don't have registration centers or polling units outside Nigeria. So there has been advocacy by Nigerians living in the diaspora to be given the right to vote, as is the case in many other countries, even in West Africa. Again, is the law. The law says that voting is only allowed for those who are registered and domiciled in Nigeria, not outside the country. So there's been a lot of advocacy for Nigerians resident outside the country to be allowed to vote. We have also championed that cause. The Commission supports Nigerians living outside the country to vote.
INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu. The People's Democratic Party Board of Trustees is mounting pressure on the National Chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, to resign as a condition for reconciliation with the aggrieved governors. Barring last-minute changes, the advisory body may ask him to quit for a candidate from the South. The BOT members will also meet with Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike and his group on Tuesday in Port Harcourt, the state capital, to deliberate on options for resolving the crisis of confidence in the party. There was pressure on Wike last night not to shun the BOT delegation, but it was not clear whether or not the presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar and Ayu will accept the BOT's advice. In the meantime, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, says he is fit to run for the office. The ex-Lagos State governor, who shared a workout video on his Twitter handle on Sunday, amid questions about his health status, denied reports that he has withdrawn from the race. There have been concerns about the health status of Tinubu, with many Nigerians questioning his capacity for the nation's top job. In recent times, Tinubu has not been seen in political gatherings, particularly at the signing of a peace accord by presidential candidates ahead of next year's exercise. While other candidates gathered at the International Conference Center in Abuja, he sent his running mate, Kashim Shettima, to represent him. The development triggered reactions and pushed hashtag Where is Tinubu to the top trend on social media last Wednesday. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party has taken to the dance floor to unveil his program of economic recovery for the country. The former vice president released a video on Sunday where he danced to a hit song by Davido, Stand Strong, dressed in two different attires. Reports say the move follows criticism about his age from teeming Nigerian youths who are asking for younger presidents for the nation. Vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Datti Baba Ahmed, says his party will end the present security challenges bedeviling Nigeria if elected to take over leadership of a country in the February 2023 presidential election. He made the promise during an interview with journalists in Sokoto, where he expressed confidence that the Labour Party will win the presidential election in 2023. He said his party will largely depend on technology and also engage stakeholders to ensure every square meter within the Nigerian territory is protected and stop the incessant attacks by terrorists and bandits. Baba Ahmed also promised that his party will turn around the nation's economy and arrest the growing inflation through deliberate programs and policies owing to the vast experience and knowledge of the presidential candidate of the party, Peter Obi, on economic matters. Nigerians have been advised to properly utilize the opportunity which the forthcoming general election provides to rewrite the history of the nation. Candidate of the Labour Party, Femi Akin-Alamu, who is vying for a seat in the House of Representatives, says there is the need for close scrutiny of those seeking to occupy political office. Speaking in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, Alamu stressed that the masses had for long been taken for a ride, even as politicians had nothing to show for their continued stay in office. He lamented what he termed the pitiable situation of the Nigerian masses, calling on them to be more vigilant and to vote wisely for credible candidates that could propel Nigeria to greatness.
We are also opening up our campaign office, which is right behind me. Throughout last week, we actually had impacted thousands of young people in our constituency with 15 different skills. And we're also giving out grants this morning.
And as Nigeria marks 62 years of nationhood, activists have called for restructuring, respect for the rule of law, and good governance beyond the 2023 general elections. Stakeholders are in agreement that there is a need to work towards building a nation before and beyond the 2023 general elections. Nana Mohammed was there and has that report.
The discussion in the hall is tense. People were angered and saddened with the situation in the country.
Some of the most important issues is that good governance will not emerge on its own. That the individual Nigerians and Nigerian groups have to work hard to drag the feet of those who are aspiring to lead us, to drag their feet to the fire of democracy. Democracy will not thrive on its own if the people do not work for democracy.
There are questions to be answered about which direction Nigeria is heading to during and beyond the 2023 general elections.
What is Nigeria? Is Nigeria a project? Is Nigeria an idea that is not real? Is Nigeria a cow to milk? Is Nigeria an experiment? Is Nigeria a responsibility? Is Nigeria an opportunity? Or is Nigeria a merchandise? Something that's up for sale or up for grab? What is Nigeria?
Human rights experts still insist that voting remains the major way to change bad leaders for good ones and wants Nigerians to challenge the huge power in the hands of the president.
It was recently reported that a few business men and women were given duty waivers worth 60 trillion naira. That sum of money is enough to wipe poverty from the face of Nigeria. we are hovering between 170 to 180 million people who are poor. You cannot have the rule of law when your court, your political systems are not accountable to the laws of your country. Can we bring our anger and disenchantment, disillusionment, and just fire it on election day? That's what makes us citizens.
It is still our low-hanging fruit that we need to harvest if we want the kind of restructuring that we are talking about. Because the rule of law, yes, under the rule of law, can we have a president and governors that will play by the rules?
The town hall meeting had Nigerians talking solutions to end a myriad of challenges faced in the country: citizenship, conflict prevention, nation building, social justice, peaceful coexistence, equity and equality remain the issues they prayed and hoped for beyond 2023 elections. Nana Muhammad, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The inclusion of women and youth in politics has been described as an important factor for achieving socio-economic and political progress of Nigeria ahead of the 2023 general elections. At a high-level consultation meeting of young people and women groups with leadership structures of political parties in Kano, experts argued that youth and women inclusion in politics is lacking across the country. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin was there and has that report.
Young people and women groups with leadership structures of political parties in Kano, which seeks to promote the inclusion of youth and women in key political and elected positions across the state.
INEC is an inclusive organization which is committed towards free, fair, credible, and inclusive election. Inclusive in the sense we have to carry youth and women along so that they can be able to participate actively in the electoral process from the beginning to the end.
Citizens demand at least the allocation of 35% of all positions in political party leadership and elected position teams are women. 2, political parties should subsidize the application funds for youth and other free funds for women aspirants.
According to these people, women and youth in Kano State are not well represented in both socio-political and economic sectors. Hence, the need to consult these political party representatives on youth and women inclusion in politics.
We also train about 369 mentees. These are people with interest in politics. We train them in the area of policy engagement, grassroots mobilization, and other related governance activities.
For these leaders of various political parties, women and youth will be given adequate opportunities to participate in governance and development should their party be given the mandate.
The youth are occupied, the youth are busy. If you give youth the education, they will find their balance. You don't need to represent anyone, they will find their balance.
We need to have a two approach from my own perspective. If we want to continue or if we want to maintain status quo, to continue with the 1999 Constitution as amended, we need to sit down and discuss some of the lacunas in the Constitution, which will bring about inclusiveness, which is a characteristic of good governance.
While they commences their electioneering campaign, their strategic and profound thoughts toward women and youth inclusion in politics will be expected to be translated into reality. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, a northern delicacy that can be preserved for a long time. Do stay with us.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children, protect them, from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
Thank you for rejoining us. If you've just joined us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our top stories. Experts say cases of abduction reduced by 28% in August as troops scale up operations across the country. Gas explosion kills 4 refugees in Kogi. We'll return now to the statistics on cases of abductions said to have gone down by 28%, I beg your pardon, across the country in the month of August when compared to the month of July. Cases of abductions said to have gone down by 28% across the country in the month of August when compared to the month of July as a result of ongoing operations of security forces. A report analyzed by Daily Trust showed a 49% increase in fatalities and an 18% increase in the number of incidents compared with the previous month of July. The report showed that 859 people were killed in the same period, with Borno State recording the highest number of 349 and Kaduna State coming second with 79 fatalities. Here's that report.
Military activities have stepped up to counter the activities of armed groups such as Boko Haram, ISWAP terrorists, IPOB terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, and other criminals, which has had an impact on the activities of these groups. On the flip side, because of the increased engagement, there have also been reported cases of attacks on civilians and security forces by members of these illegally armed groups. The report noted that the month of August was dominated by a visible increase in operations of the security forces, with government claiming successes in the ongoing operations by security forces across the country. These operations included interdictions and clearance operations by the security forces in the Federal Capital Territory and the 6 geopolitical regions, as well as state-level measures by several regional and sub-national entities. Nevertheless, the rate of insecurity is still high, with 599 incidents recorded across the country, which resulted in 859 killings and 380 abductions, affecting 262 local government areas in 36 states. A breakdown of the incidents showed that 80% of the fatalities in August affected the northern part of Nigeria. We recorded 49% of the incidents, with the northeast recording the highest fatalities at 424. Also, 20% of the incidents occurred in the northwest political zone, with 169 fatalities. 11% were recorded in the North Central with 94 fatalities. Elsewhere, the Southwest recorded 4% of the incidents with 35 fatalities. 11% occurred in the Southwest with 98 fatalities, while the South-South recorded 5% of the incidents with 39 fatalities. A closer look reveals that raids by non-state actors targeting rural communities were responsible for 314 of the fatalities. Combat crossfire was responsible for 246 fatalities, while ambush resulted in 181 fatalities. Despite the current efforts of the security forces, there is still a need for government to do more to decrease the ability of non-state actors to challenge the supremacy of the use of force by the state. To this end, the federal, state, and local governments need to enhance collaboration for enhanced administration of criminal justice and the restoration of social order by addressing the root causes of these challenges. Some of these include weak state institutions, drug addiction, socio-economic grievances, poverty, unemployment, and effects of climate change, as well as the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. The report is also recommending collaboration between federal and state governments to dominate the forested and other ungoverned spaces which the armed non-state actors use as bases for their operations.
In the meantime, the management of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital, Bauchi, has debunked insinuations that it is compromising security issues at the hospital. The acting medical director, Haruna Liman, disclosed this to Trust TV while reacting to a recent incident concerning a missing baby at the hospital's maternity ward. Adamu Imam has details of that story.
A report recently alleged that during visiting hours, a yet-to-be-identified woman reportedly outsmarted the parents of a set of twins and ran away with one of the babies to a unknown destination, but was later apprehended by security operatives in a suburb of Bauchi State. The acting medical director, while reacting to the development, said the hospital is committed to the safety of lives and property, noting that the incident, though regrettably strange to the institution.
When we got this information, the hospital was really devastated. We were told that this was perpetrated by a lady who wormed her way into the hands of the mother and her relatives. She was well introduced to them and gained their confidence.
He also said the incident is a wake-up call to all hospitals to beef up security around their premises to ensure that such eventualities are nipped in the bud.
We have different groups that constitute the security officials in the hospital. They do a very good job. If you go around the hospital, you see that every area in the hospital is manned by security agents.
In Buzai community, 25 kilometers from where the parents of the twins reside, the community leader Haruna Adamu said they were shocked when the news of missing baby broke.
We used to hear such incidents from distant community, so we were shocked that it was right here in our community. We are afraid because if an incident can happen in a teaching hospital with security operatives, then we are not safe. So we quickly informed the police, who confirmed the incident of a missing baby at the maternity. They contributed a lot in rescuing the baby.
A visit to the maternity ward revealed that the missing baby has been reunited with its family and receiving medical attention.
Even before she gave birth to twins, my wife is a hypertensive patient, so someone had to be with her. However, there was a mistake on the part of my in-law, who stays with her because she left her alone to go and buy boiled eggs for my wife. As soon as she left, the suspect appeared and talked to my wife, who felt she was a staff of the hospital because she had seen her at the hospital on several occasions. It was in the ensuing conversation that she took one of the children and ran away.
The hospital management also confirmed that the suspect has been detained at the Department of State Security. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Cheering news that the baby has been found. In the meantime, a family of 4 who are displaced by flood in Kogi State have sustained second-degree burn from a gas cylinder explosion. The victims were rushed to the Federal Medical Center, Lokoja, for treatment. The incident happened at their new abode at Adankolo, a suburb of Lokoja, where the flood victims have taken refuge from the surging River Niger water flood. The gas explosion victims, identified as Musa Aminat, Muhammad Musa, Abdusalam Hadizat, and Halima Sadia were trying to fix a gas cylinder when it exploded, inflicting life-threatening burns on them. Godwin Wambebe, a relation of the victims, said they spent all they have on their treatment since the incident occurred, soliciting the assistance of well-meaning citizens in the society to help save their lives. Flood has killed 37 people, displaced 171,000 and submerged 89,000 hectares of farmland in Adamawa State during this rainy season. This was disclosed by the Executive Secretary, Adamawa State Emergency Management Agency, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman. Suleiman explained that it affected public and private property, which included schools, hospitals, markets, houses, and worship places, thereby affecting socioeconomic activities. He lamented that the flooding had gone beyond the prediction by the Nigerian authorities, which was limited to the frontline communities along the banks of the River Benue in the state. He said the agency had distributed relief materials to all the 10 camps set up for displaced persons following a directive from the state governor, Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri. Yobe State government has ordered the immediate evacuation of Usur and Gasma communities threatened by flood in Bade and Karasua local government areas. The state deputy governor, Idi Gubana, gave the order on Sunday in Gashua when he visited areas affected by massive flooding in the area. He directed the State Emergency Management Agency to move residents of Usur and Gasma to the newly constructed housing estate in Jajimaji. The deputy governor said the visit was to sympathize with victims of the disaster and assess the level of damage for necessary support. Gubana also directed SEMA to provide relief materials to the victims to cushion their suffering. Sunday evening came with tales of disappointment as thousands of motorists traveling to the eastern part of the country through Makurdi, the Benue State capital, got held up following a tanker accident. Trust TV visited the scene of the accident and filed in this report.
The point of this accident is not far from the NNPC depot, where tankers load petroleum products to other parts of the country on a daily basis. But this one couldn't make it through a deadly pothole as it slid into a ditch, according to an eyewitness.
We saw this tanker was coming, and all of a sudden, it just dodged the pothole. Then she ran into the water there. So that's what happened. And we was there up to daybreak, and we did not see anybody to come out of taking the fuel up to now. That we just saw the other tanker to come out.
The motorist lamented the setback caused by the accident, blaming it on the deplorable state of the road.
Just to Port Harcourt. On our way going to Aledi, we meet an accident here. It's one tanker driver that has an accident here. Then they bring another tanker to transload the load. That is why we are here since Monday.
The management of the depot intervened in order to prevent a fire outbreak from the falling tanker. At the time of this report, there were frantic efforts to open up the road.
We are here this morning. There was an accident. A truck carrying petroleum motor spirit, that's PMS. The regular petrol had an accident, and they were just lucky. There are no injuries, no loss of life. What we are trying to do presently is to transload the product from the accidented truck to an empty truck so that the other truck can be pulled out easily and safely. That's what we're...
A combined team of the police, road safety and fire service cordoned the area to avoid fire and also control human movement around the accident scene.
We are here in order to condone the place so that we don't have people who are not part of the operation going into the area of operation. It's all for the safety of everybody. Somebody could be carrying maybe matches in his pocket, maybe motorcycles passing around with their engines on to cause spark, and then we can have a breakout of fire, which will be dangerous for everybody.
Away from the tanker accident in Makurdi, climate change is one of the many factors that contribute to the security challenges facing the North and Nigeria at large. This is the view of climate activists and climate reporters at an event tagged Green Hangout in Kaduna, organized by the Green Climate Africa. The activists, while advocating for collective efforts to fight the menace, disclosed that many plants and animals have gone into extinction due to unfriendly activities of man. Here's that report.
The Green Hangout is a platform where people within the environment space discuss climate change and its implications on security, agriculture, economy, and other human endeavors. However, experts say the effect of climate on planet Earth, especially in Nigeria and the North in particular, has contributed to the present security challenges.
If you go down, you find out that those that are being recruited to be part of these climate change challenges are there because of their means of livelihood have been submerged by either natural or artificial challenge.
Climate change is one of the factors that constitute national security issues. So, of course, anything that has national security implication is, of course, a looming danger to the entire country.
Besides extinction of plants and animal due to climate change, another issue discussed is drying up of the river, especially Lake Chad, which contributed to security challenges.
There are a lot of plants and animals that have gone extinction. You know, before now, you find out that you will see what we call angulu, that's vultures around. While we're growing up, we see them around, but now we don't see them again.
80% of Lake Chad has dried up because of what issue of climate change that we are facing. And the people in the Northeast, majority of them used to depend on Lake Chad as their source of livelihood. Now this has caused a lot of issues that has to do with security challenges.
Awareness is supposed to be something of government partnering media to actually let the people understand that what is happening in the climate is very important to their life and to their sustainability.
The participants here want collective effort to fight climate challenges, especially in the developing countries. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has arrested more than 50 suspects over allegations of various crimes in Gombe State. The NSCDC commandant in Gombe State, Waziri Babagoni, said those arrested include suspected underage prostitutes, forest vandals, and some persons in possession of fake dollars and naira notes. Ibrahim Ismail has that report.
These women were allegedly arrested in various nightclubs within Gombe Metropolis. According to NSCDC, some of the girls are underage who ran away from their homes and have been arrested over 16 times.
Those ladies who are now fleeing in Ghana and in Brotes, most of them are from other states, the neighboring states, Bauchi, Jos, Taraba, and Adamawa states. Why they left their state without the consent of their parents. They come down, in order to do haloti and in Brussels that we arrested them for. And these are the things that a serious social bias where Nigerians can be spoiled at tender ages, and this also is not allowed. And this is the reason why, by all means, will not allow such a social bias to be happening in Gombe State here. It's the responsibility of the general society and the spiritual agencies, where government has given the mandate to impose, and we are going to impose these laws and do all our most aspects in order to control this society.
Some of these underage girls were alleged prostitutes who have been moving from one nightclub to another, an allegation they vehemently denied.
I used to
go to the club. I was arrested last Friday. This time I went to take my bag at the club, but we were rearrested on our way back. The NSCDC also arrested a group of individuals suspected to be involved in printing and circulation of fake naira and dollar notes to the tune of 7 million naira. I was informed that some people have recovered foreign money in Yola and they don't know what to do. A man contacted and briefed me about it. We traveled to Yola. It was there I collected the money in Jimeta. They are Fulanis.
Wasu Fulani ne can wurin Jimeta. A can ne muka je na karbi wannan kuɗi.
Also apprehended were suspected vandals for alleged illegal cutting of trees in Gombe forests. The command said it will not relent in its effort toward ensuring that the state is rid of criminal activities. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
In a related development, operatives of the Ogun State Community Social Orientation and Safety Corps, known as SoSafe Corps, have arrested 12 illegal miners at Abeku Adekombi village in Ijebu North local government area of the state. The office of the state commander of the Corps, Soji Gonzalo, disclosed this on Monday in a statement issued by the Director of Information and Public Relations of the Corps, Maruf Yusuf. Gonzalo said the illegal miners were arrested last month while allegedly stealing mineral resources like coal and gold from under the ground. The commander of the Corps said he has ordered that a preliminary investigation report be forwarded to the state headquarters of the Corps. Meanwhile, the arrested suspects had been transferred to the Nigeria Police Ijebu-Igbo Divisional Headquarters for onward transfer to the Ogun State Police Headquarters in Ileweron for further investigation and likely prosecution. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us.
And Starry.
Thank you for rejoining us. Modern 18,000-seater capacity stadium has been built by Governor Udom Emmanuel. Was at the weekend inaugurated in Eket local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Niger State Governor Abubakar Bello inaugurated the ultra-modern stadium facility as part of activities to mark the 35th anniversary of the creation of Akwa Ibom State. Speaking at the ceremony, Bello noted that the stadium would support and encourage talent in Akwa Ibom State in particular and the nation in general. Earlier, Governor Udom Emmanuel had explained that the modern Eket Sports Stadium would be a key driver of talents in the state. The governor hinted that the first major competition that would hold in the stadium would be the Police Sports Festival, which is expected to hold in the last quarter of the year. Public holidays are periods during which the workforce is given some time off from work by nations or states to observe particular events. Nigeria observes many public holidays, some of which at times are unplanned for by the people. This has attracted arguments on the basis that these holidays are too many and detrimental to productivity and the national economy. Here's a report on that.
A specific number of days in a calendar year are usually set aside by the government as public holidays to mark certain occasions like the New Year, Boxing Day, religious festivals, Independence Anniversary celebrations, among others. Although intended to encourage rest, some people defy these days due to their line of work or business. To these people, the weekends are meant for rest, and taking the weekday off as a holiday will affect their sources of livelihood.
Every workforce or firm or whatever should have their own time for vacation or this time they lay out for workers or shifts for them to rest. So when the public holiday encroaches, basically for a private firm, I don't think it will be necessary for them because actually they are not under the government workforce. It's them doing their thing. So they may not adhere to that. Time is money. So when you spend your time doing nothing, you'll be losing money. So you have to get your time doing something to be productive.
As an entrepreneur, I went to a meeting, I went for a meeting, we're trying to set up some things against tomorrow. So there are different facets of being why some people are on the street, why some people need to be resting, why some people are celebrating. It all depends on the sector which you have. If I believe most private entrepreneurs, even outside Abuja, they will still be working.
Not to miss our present days again because of the situation of that's going on in our country. Like, they cannot sit at home like with a hungry stomach now, for goodness sake. Like, for instance, someone that have like responsibilities like wife and children and with no money in your account, like I'm not sure that person will sit back for public holidays. Instead, the person will go out to hustle.
Although the Minister of Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, made the declaration of Monday, 3rd October as the Independence Day public holiday, his assurances that government will tackle challenges facing the nation and bring smiles to the faces of Nigerians are lost on these people.
The situation of Nigeria now is not easy. Everything is very hard. Hardship. We are in a hardship now. We need to come out and hustle and get government to feed. That's why everybody. If you look at the weather now, you look at today now, it not look like public holiday because of the hardship of the nation.
Business today is kind of slow, but people are still coming out to buy. Basically, I don't think people are really much into Nigeria again because everybody's tired, everybody's fending for themselves.
The irony is that public holidays will continue to be marked to commemorate significant events, no matter how people perceive them. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Non-profit organizations in Osun State have formed a coalition with the sole aim of fighting for the rights of older persons in the state. The Coalition of Societies for Rights of Older Persons in Nigeria was unveiled at a press conference in Osogbo, the state capital. Stakeholders explained that the objective of the coalition is to guarantee the rights of older persons in the state and particularly push for the prompt payment of retirement benefits to pensioners. They are appealing to the state government to pay pension and gratuity of retired civil servants in the state without further delay to enable them cover their financial needs.
Older persons in Nigeria is very key. Then again, to uphold their rights in accordance with applicable laws and constitution of the country. The third one is to work towards better health and aging of Nigeria's senior citizens. Encourage inclusion of older persons in every aspect of Nigeria's public life. Then promote research into issues pertaining to aging. Build bridges within and outside the country with relevant authorities, individuals and institutions dedicated to the care of the older persons.
As of today, the major problem facing the elderly, especially the senior citizens, those that have retired from the civil service, has to do with their entitlements, such as gratuity and pensions. Most elderly people have not gotten anything after retirement. I think this should give the government concern.
This particular coalition is going to assist the elder people so that there won't be loneliness, and then they'll be able to share their ideas to other person, maybe through dreams, through intervention from another person who can assist them instead of sitting down alone.
Rights of older persons on the front burner. Kilishi is a popular Nigerian local beef jerky that originates from the northern parts of the country. This delicacy was born of necessity to preserve meat for a longer period, especially for travelers. Although kilishi can be made from beef of domestic animals like goat, ram and sheep, cow meat is more desirable for preparing this delicious beef jerky. In this report, Yushao Adamu examines how kilishi is done in the northwestern state of Sokoto. Here's that report.
For more than a century, the business of kilishi has been financially sustaining many households in most northern states. In Sokoto, this local business is gradually booming, with more kilishi processing joints being established at various locations. Malam Umaru Gwadebawa has been in this business for over 3 decades.
I have been in this business for 35 years. All 6 workers are my children, and they have learned the business very well.
Osman Maikilishi is another dealer of this meat delicacy who started the business about 7 years ago. Osman and over 30 supporting staff earn their living through this business at Ungorogo quarters in the state metropolis.
I am from Kebbi State. I came to Sokoto, courtesy of business of kilishi. I have built a house here in Sokoto, and I own over 10 pieces of land. I am also a farmer, and courtesy of this business, I got many lands where I farm rice of about 2,000 bags every year.
The persistent economic hardship is biting harder on this business, thereby dashing out the hopes and aspirations of its operators as they call for government assistance.
I have about 30 supporting staff under me, but I have never received any assistance from government. We only heard over the radio that government is giving assistance to people.
Since kilishi delicacy can remain edible for between 6 months to a year, the need for government to come up with modalities for export may be considered necessary. Yusho Adamu, Trust TV News, Sokoto.
A truly interesting business. And now for more business, Chamun Dabeng.
The concession agreement with 5 terminal operators that had expired has been finalized, according to the Nigerian Port Authority (NPA), and will be submitted for final clearance to the Federal Ministry of Transportation. The agreement will be presented before the end of business on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022, according to the Managing Director of NPA, Mohammed Bello Koko, who made the disclosure during a courtesy visit from the Minister of Transportation, Mwazu Sambo. He stated that discussions among some terminal operators have not yet yielded any results, adding that some terminal operators have not yet provided the required response to the authority. The NPA boss, however, bemoaned the complete physical inspection of shipments at the nation's seaports, claiming that this is impeding effective cargo inspection because manual cargo examination is time-consuming and ineffective. From January 2020 to June 2022, the federal government spent 3.92 trillion naira on subsidies for premium motor spirit, also known as petrol. This amount was larger than the total federal spending for health, education, and defense combined for the 30-month period. An analysis of ministerial budgets and expenditure on fuel subsidies for the period from January 2020 to the first half of 2022 revealed that while the federal government spent 3.92 trillion naira on PMS subsidies during that time, 2.28 trillion naira, 1.68 trillion naira, and 3.06 trillion naira were allocated to education, healthcare, and defense budgets, respectively. Further research revealed that the combined budgets for health, education, and defense in 2020 came to 1.922 trillion naira, while the cost of fuel subsidies alone was 450 billion naira. However, the amount spent on fuel subsidies increased to 1.43 trillion naira in 2021, while the combined budgets for health, education, and defense were anticipated to be 2.288 trillion naira. The government spent 2.04 trillion naira on fuel subsidies in the first 6 months of this year, while the combined budgets for health, education, and defense were 2.81 trillion naira. The Trans-Niger pipeline, which carries around 180,000 barrels of crude oil per day, is poised to reopen under the direction of the federal government. Due to theft from the oil export plant and vandalism, the pipeline was shut down 6 months ago. One of the crude oil grades from Nigeria is called Bonny Light and is shipped to an export terminal via the TNP. However, Shell decided to close the TNP after it was vandalized roughly 6 months ago. The movement of 180,000 barrels per day of petroleum via the conduit has halted as a result. The pipeline would reopen according to a series of tweets posted by Bala Wunti, Group General Manager of National Petroleum Investment Management Services. That's all for Business News. I am Chamun Dabeng.
And on the international scene, King Charles III will welcome South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to the United Kingdom for 3 days of high-level talks next month, the first of such visits since the monarch succeeded his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, last month. In a statement on Monday, Buckingham Palace announced that Ramaphosa has accepted Charles's invitation for a state visit from November the 22nd to the 24th. South Africa is a member of the Commonwealth, a political association of 56 countries, mostly former British colonies. The new monarch has visited South Africa on several occasions since 1997. The visit comes as Ramaphosa faces a huge scandal back at home. Arthur Fraser, the former head of a country's spy agency, has accused the president of kidnapping, bribery, money laundering, and concealing a crime in relation to the alleged theft of $4 million in cash found at his Falafala game ranch in northern South Africa. The country's parliament has opened investigations into the matter, and Ramaphosa could face an impeachment vote in the coming weeks. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Let's join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
The Confederation of African Football (CAF) Executive Committee met on Sunday, 1st October 2022 in Algiers, Algeria, and announced the reopening of bids for the Total Energy Africa Cup of Nations 2025. The African football ruling body stripped Guinea of the right to host the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, known as AFCON. President of CAF, Patrice Motsepe, traveled to Conakry on Friday for discussion with interim President Colin Mamadi Doumbouya, but could not guarantee their readiness to host African Cup of Nations. Other African countries, including Nigeria, who wish to host the African Nations Cup in 2025, can now submit their bids. Cote d'Ivoire will host the biggest African Football Championship in 2023. AFCON is a biennial competition organized by CAF for African countries. In 2013, the tournament format was switched to being held in odd-number years so that it won't interfere with the FIFA World Cup. Senegal are the tournament's current champions, having beaten Egypt on penalties in the 2021 finals. And still on CAF, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) has disqualified the national under-17 teams of Djibouti and Sudan from the qualifiers of the under-17 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON for the CECAFA zone. The two teams were sanctioned after some of their players failed the mandatory magnetic resonance imaging MRI test. All the 8 teams that arrived in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia for the qualifiers had to undergo MRI tests. Oka Gicho, the CECAFA executive director, confirmed that the CAF Youth Organizing Committee decided to disqualify the two teams via Article 27.4 of the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations regulations. The article stipulates that if after performing the age eligibility test MRI for a participating team and one player was found non-eligible, the participating team will be disqualified. The Under-17 AFCON is a biennial competition organized by CAF which has been held since 1995. Nigeria is one of the most successful teams in the tournament with 2 titles along with 4 other countries. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
Thank you, Adeni. And with that, we have come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV tonight. You can follow us across all our social media platforms. Thank you for watching. I'm Eugenia Abu.